Hi everyone, Teddy Baldassarre with TeddyBaldassarre.com. In this video, we're looking at a watch from Ball Watch Company with the Engineer Hydrocarbon Original. So in this video and on this channel, we cover watches available for purchase on our website, TeddyBaldassarre.com, as a full authorized dealer of all the brands that we carry. So in this video, full in-depth review of this piece, final points of consideration at the end. But throughout the video, if you have any further questions, check out the link in the description to the product page where you can learn more, purchase the watch, as well as book a time with one of our dedicated watch specialists as well. But guys, let's jump into the video, take a closer look at this watch. To best summarize the history of the Ball Watch Company would be to say that they were instrumental in standardizing railway pocket watches around the turn of the 20th century to make travel along railroads safer than it had been up to that point. The company was originally founded here in my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, and the company's founder was tasked by the United States government to oversee and develop industry standards for timekeeping to prevent kinds of miscalculations and issues that led to the tragedy in 1891 in Kipton, Ohio with its train crash. Today, the company is located in Switzerland and has grown into a brand with a diverse lineup of styles with interesting technology that was inspired out of their pursuit for chronometric excellence, making them one of the better value for money and overlooked brands in their price segment. So far on this channel, we've covered more of the conventional pieces from Ball that have some general versatility to them, but they also do some more out there type of stuff. And we're going to be looking at one today with a dive watch that many people might not be aware of, with the Hydrocarbon Original 40, a dive watch that's packed with proprietary Ball watch technology and looks that are very much true to them. So taking a look at the size of this Hydrocarbon Original on the wrist, we have a case size that measures at 40 millimeters, kind of, but when you factor in the bezel overhang, this one's going to measure closer to a 42.5 millimeter case. And then when you factor on top of that the large crown and crown guard, this thing is very far from being a 40 millimeter watch. Let's just go ahead and say the name doesn't really match with the sizing and dimension of this. This watch is not thin either, sitting at 15 millimeters thick by our measurement, a hair more than the official listed 14.5 millimeters. And from a lug to lug dimension, we have a 50.5 millimeter distance. But there's no really way around it. This is a larger watch, and I'm not sure exactly how Ball is getting away with saying that this is a 40 millimeter watch, because it is not that. Sure, the central case is that, but in terms of that bezel and adding on top those crown guards, this is going to wear closer to a 42 to a 43 millimeter case. Perhaps the most distinguishing feature of the Hydrocarbon is the use of Ball Watch's crown protective system located at the right side of the case. You're certainly not going to miss it. It's a combination of large crown guards as well as a protective covering that slides across the top screw down crown to ensure the crown is fully secured down while also aiding in shock protection. A small pin locks the cover into place, and to access the crown, all you will have to do is press the pin down and simultaneously slide the cover off. Although looking rather intimidating, it's actually quite easy in its use. Water resistance of 200 meters is possible when the crown is properly secured. Once the crown is unscrewed, operates in typical fashion. First position hand winding, second position can change the date function, and then at the fully extended point, you then can adjust the time while stopping the second hand in the process, so hacking seconds here. The unidirectional bezel rotates smoothly at 120 clicks with a large, easy to grip coin edge. The bezel insert is protected by hardened sapphire glass, giving it a more luxurious look than the traditional dive watch bezel. Cutouts along the insert expose the signature gas tubes below, which in this configuration appears to be one solid and continuous piece, but it is in fact made up of multiple pieces. As far as the finishing of the case and bracelet are concerned, we have a mix of brush and polish finishes. The case has nicely polished side surfaces on both of the sides of the case, which includes that entire crown protection system. Hard transitions are found along the case edges, where the top side surfaces are finished in a soft vertical brush. Between the 20 millimeter drilled lugs is a sporty H-link style bracelet secured to the case with 2 screws per lug. Brush finishes are applied to the end links all the way down through the bracelet to match the finish of the case and lugs, providing a seamless transition here. The boxy center links are finished in contrasting polish to give the bracelet a bit more of an upscale appearance. This, like many other Ball bracelets, is going to be a bit more clunky on the wrist in terms of the articulation of the links. It is well constructed, no question about it, but it's just going to further add to kind of the presence that this watch is going to bring forth. There's some beveling along the edges of each of those links. As you move down the bracelet, you're going to find several different sizing links on each side, including 2 half links on both sides of the large milled security clasp. The links, like the bracelet itself, are secured together with screws rather than the pin and sleeve system, and Ball has designed this large clasp with its patented diver extension system, with this providing 10 millimeters of extension on both sides, which is nice to see. One thing I noticed is when the extensions are fully out, the clasp isn't as snug and secure compared to when it's at its most compact state. So just something to keep in mind. In terms of the design elements of that clasp, the high polished double R emblem is found on the lip, standing out against the brushed top surface. Two large rectangular push buttons flanking both sides there to release that from its secured position. And then when viewing at the underside of the closed clasp, you'll find Swiss made as well as Ball and design boldly engraved on surfaces that are usually just left blank or are further milled out. Moving over to the dial, we have a sapphire crystal that is going to protect the matte black dial beneath. It does have anti-reflective coating on it, but it doesn't do the best of job in regards to stopping all the glare on this dial surface. At certain angles, the glare does hinder the full visibility of this dial, but for the most part is going to vary depending on if you're talking about artificial or natural light. Along the outside edge of the dial, we have a simple minute tracking that nestles right up to these traditional dive hour markers. These markers are a combination of rectangular markers at the quarter, 3, 6, and 9, and a triangle at the 12 with round markers filling in the remaining hours. This dial is very sandwich-esque, but even more, it's going to feature luminous micro gas tubes, which have become kind of the calling card for Ball in the last few decades. The surfaces of the gas tubes are reflective and similar to the bezel. This gives the dial a more luxurious look. At the 3 o'clock position, we have a large day-date window with going to have a stepped outline, while also putting to rest the risk of any awkward gaps between the top of the dial and the day-date disc below. Just beneath the 12 o'clock is the Ball logo in white contrasting print, and above the 6 o'clock marker, we have text referencing some of the watch's specs. Chronometer on top with 1000 Gauss and 200 meters or 660 feet just below that. In the center of the dial, we find high polished plongeur style hands that are skeletonized at the tips. Each hand, including the long thin sweep of the second hand, is fitted with 1 microgas tube. In order for these tubes to glow, a stable form of tritium gas activates luminous material that is applied to the inside of each piece. The reaction that is taking place allows for these tubes to glow without needing any charging from a source of light and can last for decades. This differs from that of superluminova, which is typically the most common material chosen by brands in a modern context. This will not shine as bright at its peak compared to superluminova, but that constant illuminating will be great in completely dark environments. Now flipping the watch over to the back, we have a solid screw down case back. In the center, as with many Ball models, we have an embossed image, this time of a diver looking off in the distance. The caseback protects the Ball caliber RR1102 CLS, which is a tech-loaded and heavily modified movement that started out from an ETA 2836-2 base. Ball has gone to extensive lengths to enhance its performance with hosting a lot of interesting technology, making it more shock-resistant, anti-magnetic, and accurate. Starting with the basics, this movement operates at 4 Hz and provides up to 38 hours of power reserve with hacking seconds as a feature, as well as a day-date function, which are the specs of that original ETA base. From there, though, Ball utilizes their proprietary shock system, spring lock, and spring seal system to enhance the movement's shock resistance. Ball claims that their patented spring lock system reduces impact shock to the balance spring up to 66%. It does this by placing a cage-like system around the balance spring to prevent it from unfurling during an impact, which is one of the primary causes for accuracy loss in mechanical watches. To further enhance protection against impact, the spring seal system locks the regulating organ in place so that it cannot be moved out of its locked position. These technologies are going to enhance the durability of the movement, ensuring that once the watch is regulated within those COSC standards, an impact shock won't affect the accuracy, and should really allow this one to, of course, fall in alignment with the tool watch aesthetic that this one is clearly going for. All right, so now for some final thoughts and considerations for this Hydrocarbon. Now, the first thing to address is the fact that this is not a 40mm watch, despite the title and name of what Ball positions this watch as. It is a 42 to 43mm watch and is going to wear pretty true to those dimensions. So just keep that in mind. This is a tool watch for a larger wrist out there. It also is falling in a range that is certainly competitive when it comes to dive watches out there. previously looked at some additional dive watches from Ball, so definitely would recommend checking those out as well on the channel if you are wanting to get a full idea of what their catalog represents. Bracelet is solid, but I certainly would maybe advocate getting some additional strap options as well, maybe going for a NATO strap or things of that sort that would also look at home on this piece. The added heft of the bracelet is just going to make the feel on the wrist even more substantial. I don't want to overstep and say that this is the larger watch, but when you set the expectations of 40 millimeters, you have a certain idea of what this watch should feel like, and it doesn't really necessarily push that forward. The movement here is nicely upgraded, also getting a COSC certified movement as well with nice ranges of deviation and expectation there. Crown guard system, of course, is maybe a little much for some, but certainly well executed as well. Is this a mass appealing dive watch by any means? Absolutely not. But is it in alignment with what Ball is really known for from a contemporary perspective? Absolutely, and it certainly is kind of falling into that archetype in which this brand represents as a tool watch brand creating things for true use in a day-to-day. All right, guys, well, thank you again so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That really does help out the channel, and I would appreciate it. Also, if you're in the market for this watch, check it out on TeddyBaldassarre.com. Full authorized dealer of all the brands that we carry, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support. We also offer a full factory warranty for all the products that we offer. So if something goes wrong, you're not having to pay the bill for it, and that can get expensive. Also, we offer price match, so if you see one of our watches for cheaper at another authorized dealer, fill out the form, we'll get in touch with you. And finally, 9 out of every $10 that we generate goes right back in the content that we're creating here, as well as on our main channel, helping to foster up a new generation of watch enthusiasts in the process. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.